She buried her mother on a Tuesday and her marriage on a Wednesday, but by Friday, she'd inherited a fortune and a reason to live again. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now let us begin. The funeral was quiet. Too quiet for a woman who'd built an empire in the shadows. Camila Rivera stood at the edge of her mother's grave in Colma, just south of San Francisco, watching the casket sink into the earth. The sky was gray, the kind of gray that matched the numbness spreading through her chest. Around her, distant cousins she hadn't seen in years whispered polite condolences, their eyes already drifting toward their phones, their cars, their lives. Her mother, Elena Rivera, had been a ghost even when alive, always working, always traveling, always absent. Camila twisted the silver bracelet on her wrist, a simple chain with a small inscription, Para ti, mija. Her mother had given it to her when she was 12. It was the only gift she could remember. She loved you, you know. Camila didn't turn. The voice belonged to Father Gomez, the priest who delivered the service. He meant well, they always did. She had a funny way of showing it, Camila whispered. She didn't wait for a response. She walked toward the parking lot, heels sinking into the damp grass, her black dress clinging to her legs in the Bay Area mist. Her phone buzzed. Tyler, where are you? We need to talk. She ignored it. He'd been cold ever since her mother got sick, annoyed by her tears, frustrated by her grief. She told herself it was just stress that marriages went through seasons. But deep down, she knew. Something had shifted. Across the city, in the Soma district, Dominic Ashe stood on the scaffolding of a half-built structure, hands shoved into the pockets of his canvas jacket. Below him, the streets of San Francisco pulsed with life-tech bros in hoodies, tourists snapping photos of painted Victorians, the distant clang of the streetcars. He didn't see any of it. Mr. Ashe, please, just one more week, we're almost there. No. His voice was flat, final. He turned to face the contractor, a wiry man named Luis, who looked like he hadn't slept in days. You're 3 months behind, Luis. I gave you extensions. I gave you second chances. I'm done. But the families this housing project, it's for. I know what it's for. Dominic's jaw tightened. And I know what happens when people make promises they can't keep. You're off the project. I'll finish it myself. Luis looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Dominic's eyes stopped him. There was no anger there, just distance. The kind of distance that came from losing too much. Luis left. Dominic stood alone on the scaffolding, the wind tugging at his dark hair. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through emails he didn't care about, deleted voicemails from people asking for favors. 3 years ago, he'd been different, softer. His wife, Anne, had been the one who reminded him to smile, to see the good in people. Then she died. And he'd built walls higher than any building he'd ever designed. His phone buzzed, a message from a lawyer he didn't recognize. Mr. Ashe, we need to discuss the Rivera estate. Please call immediately. He frowned. Rivera. He knew that name. Elena Rivera. The woman who'd partnered with him years ago, on a project he'd almost forgotten about, a children's hospital. She'd funded it. He'd designed it. Then, she'd disappeared. And now, apparently, she was dead. He pocketed his phone and stared out at the city, the golden light of late afternoon cutting through the fog. He didn't believe in signs, but something about that message felt inevitable. Camila pushed open the door to her apartment in Pacific Heights, the place she and Tyler had rented, the place that had never quite felt like home. It was too clean, too quiet, like a showroom. Tyler was in the bedroom. She could hear him moving, the sound of a zipper, drawers opening and closing. Her heart sank. Tyler. He emerged from the hallway, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His face was flushed, guilty, but there was something else there too, defiance. Camila. Hey. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I was going to wait until you got back, but, what are you doing? He set the bag down, ran a hand through his blonde hair. He looked like a catalog model, sharp jaw, expensive haircut, the kind of man who always knew how to say the right thing. Except now. I'm leaving. The words landed like stones. What? I'm sorry. I should have done this sooner. But with your mom? And everything? He exhaled sharply. Like he was the one suffering. This isn't working. Us. It hasn't been for a while. Camila felt her knees weaken. She gripped the edge of the kitchen counter. Tyler, my mother just died. I buried her today. I know, and I'm sorry, but I can't keep pretending. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were hard. You're not happy. I'm not happy. We're just going through the motions. So you're leaving me? Now? I'm leaving because I met someone. The room tilted. Who? He hesitated, and in that hesitation, she knew. Vanessa. Vanessa, their maid. The woman Camila had hired a year ago when her mother got sick, when she needed help keeping the apartment together because she was too exhausted to function. Vanessa, who smiled too much, who laughed at Tyler's jokes, who always seemed to be there. Camila's voice came out hollow. You're leaving me for the maid. Don't say it like that. How should I say it? Tyler grabbed his bag, his face twisting with frustration. You want the truth? Fine. You've been a ghost, Camila. Ever since your mom got sick, you've been gone. I tried, I really did. But Vanessa, she sees me. She makes me feel. Get out. Her voice cracked, but it was firm. Tyler paused at the door. For a moment, she thought he might apologize, might take it back. But he didn't. I'll send someone for my stuff. And then he was gone. Camila stood in the empty apartment, the silence roaring in her ears. She sank to the floor, pressed her forehead to her knees, and let the tears come. She had buried her mother. And now, she had buried her marriage. Have you ever lost two things you loved at the same time? Drop a comment, and tell me how did you survive it. Camila didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch in the dark, still wearing her funeral dress, staring at the door Tyler had walked through. Her phone lay silent beside her. No calls, no texts, not even from him. He was already gone. Truly gone. At 3 a.m., she finally moved. She peeled off the dress, left it in a heap on the bathroom floor, and stood under the shower until the water ran cold. When she emerged, her skin was raw, her eyes swollen. She looked at herself in the mirror. Who was she without her mother? Without her husband? Just Camila. And she didn't even know who that was. The call came at 9:47 a.m. She was sitting at the kitchen table, clutching a mug of coffee she hadn't touched, when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Mrs. Rivera? It's Miss Rivera. The correction felt bitter on her tongue. My apologies. This is Martin Cheswick, senior partner at Cheswick & Lowe. I represent your mother's estate. Camila's stomach tightened. Okay. I need you to come to our office today. There are matters we need to discuss. Urgently. Can't we do this over the phone? I'm afraid not. This concerns your inheritance, and it's... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Significant. Inheritance. The word felt foreign. Her mother had worked constantly, traveled often, but Camila had always assumed it was middle management corporate work. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that would leave behind more than a modest savings account, and maybe the small condo in Daly City, where her mother had lived alone. Fine. What time? 2 o'clock. Our office is on California Street. I'll send the address. He hung up before she could respond. The law office was sterile and intimidating, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the financial district, marble floors, the kind of quiet that came from expensive soundproofing. Martin Cheswick was in his 60s, silver-haired, with the kind of face that had seen 1,000 family dramas play out in conference rooms just like this one. He stood when she entered. Miss Rivera, thank you for coming. She sat across from him, feeling small, in the leather chair. I'll be direct, he said, sliding a folder across the table. Your mother, Elena Maria Rivera, passed away with an estate valued at approximately $4.2 billion. The number didn't register at first. I'm sorry, what? $4.2 billion. Liquid assets, real estate holdings, stock portfolios, and equity in several private companies. He opened the folder, revealing page after page of figures, properties, account numbers. She left everything to you. Camila stared at the papers. The numbers blurred. That's not possible. My mother was a consultant. She owned the companies she consulted for. Cheswick's tone was patient, practiced. Your mother built her fortune quietly over 30 years. She was extraordinarily private. No one outside a very small circle knew the extent of her wealth. Why? Camila's voice cracked. Why didn't she tell me? I don't know. She never explained her reasons. He slid another document toward her. But she left you this letter. I was instructed to give it to you only after I'd explained the financials. Camila's hands trembled as she took the envelope. Her mother's handwriting, small, precise, spelled out her name. She opened it. Mija, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you're angry. You have every right to be. I kept this from you because I wanted you to be free. Free from the weight of wealth. From people who would want you for what you have instead of who you are. I built this fortune so you would never have to suffer the way I did. So you would never have to depend on a man who could destroy you. Your father almost killed me, Camila. Not with his hands, though he tried, but with his control. I escaped with nothing but you. And I swore I would build something that no one could ever take from us. This money is yours. Use it. Enjoy it. Build a life that makes you happy. You were always enough, Mija, even when I couldn't show you. I loved you. I always did. Mama. Camila's vision blurred. Tears splattered onto the paper, smudging the ink. Her mother had been protecting her. All those years of distance, of absence, it was armor. And now Camila had inherited not just money, but a legacy of survival. She was about to speak when the door to the conference room burst open. Tyler. He stood in the doorway, chest heaving, eyes wild. Vanessa lingered behind him in the hallway, her expression smug. Camila. His voice was breathless, desperate. I heard. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. Cheswick stood. Excuse me, sir, this is a private. I'm her husband, Tyler snapped. You were my husband, Camila said quietly, her voice steadier than she felt. You left me yesterday, remember? I was confused, grieving. I wasn't thinking straight. He crossed the room, reaching for her hands. She pulled them away. Baby, please. We can fix this. We can. You heard about the money. He froze. What? No, that's not. You didn't even wait a day, Tyler. You left me the day of my mother's funeral. Her voice rose, the grief and rage finally breaking through. And now, 24 hours later, you're here. Begging. That's not fair. Fair? She stood, the letter still clutched in her hand. You're leaving me for Vanessa. You told me I wasn't enough. You said she saw you. She turned to Cheswick. Is the paperwork ready? Yes. As of yesterday, the divorce was filed and processed quickly due to, well, your mother's connections. It's finalized. Tyler's face went pale. What? She's not your wife anymore, Mr. Brennan, Cheswick said coldly. And this meeting is over. Security appeared in the doorway. Tyler looked at Camila, his eyes pleading. But she saw it now, the calculation, the hunger. He'd never loved her. He'd loved the idea of her, the convenience, the role she played. Get out, she whispered. Vanessa stepped forward, defiant. You think you're better than us now? You think money makes you? I said get out. This time, her voice was steel. They left. Camila collapsed back into her chair, shaking. Cheswick handed her a glass of water. Are you all right? She laughed a bitter, broken sound. I don't know. For what it's worth, he said gently. Your mother would be proud of you. Camila looked down at the letter, at her mother's words. You were always enough. She folded it carefully, slipped it back into the envelope. What happens now? She asked. Now, Cheswick said, you decide what kind of life you want to build. Outside, the city hummed with life. People rushed past on California Street, chasing meetings, deadlines, dreams. Camila stood on the sidewalk, the wind tugging at her hair, the weight of $4.2 billion pressing down on her shoulders. She'd lost her mother. She'd lost her husband. But for the first time in her life, she had something else. Freedom. She just didn't know what to do with it yet. The penthouse felt like a mausoleum. Camila had signed the papers that afternoon. The Pacific Heights apartment, Tyler's dream, not hers, was no longer home. Cheswick had arranged a temporary residence while she figured out her next move. A penthouse suite in Nob Hill, overlooking the bay, courtesy of one of her mother's property holdings. It had 3 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows, a kitchen she'd never use. And it was completely, suffocatingly empty. She stood in the living room, staring out at the lights of the city, her phone buzzing incessantly on the marble counter. Tyler had called 19 times. Vanessa had sent a single text. You're pathetic. He never loved you. Camila deleted it without responding. Her mother's lawyer had transferred the first tranche of funds into her account, $50 million, he'd said, to get started. The number was meaningless. Monopoly money. She'd checked her bank balance twice, just to make sure it was real. It was. And it made her feel nothing. She hired a cleaning service to pack up the old apartment. She couldn't face it. Couldn't stand the thought of touching Tyler's things, of sorting through the life they'd built together. The crew arrived the next morning, efficient, polite, invisible. They boxed everything, labeled it, stored it in a facility she'd never visit. When they asked about Vanessa's belongings, she'd left clothes in the guest room, makeup in the bathroom. Camila's voice was ice. Throw them away. The lead cleaner, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, hesitated. All of it? All of it. The woman nodded. Good for you, honey. But the money haunted her. Cheswick had sent over a portfolio manager, a estate planner, a team of advisors who spoke in acronyms and percentages. They wanted her to make decisions, investments, charitable foundations, property acquisitions. She sent them all away. I need time, she'd said. They'd exchanged glances. Rich people problems, their expression said. But they didn't understand. This wasn't her money. It was her mother's ghost, hovering over her, asking questions Camila couldn't answer. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you leave me alone? Why does this feel like a punishment instead of a gift? On the third day, Tyler showed up at the penthouse. She didn't know how he'd found her, probably bribed the building staff, but there he was, standing in the hallway when she opened the door to retrieve a grocery delivery. Camila, please, just 5 minutes. She should have slammed the door. But some weak, pathetic part of her, the part that had spent 3 years waking up next to him, cooking his meals, laughing at his jokes, hesitated. 2 minutes, she said. He stepped inside, and she hated how familiar he looked. How easy it would be to fall back into the pattern. I'm sorry, he began, his voice raw. I know I hurt you. I know I screwed up. But I was scared, Camila. Your mom dying, you shutting down. I felt like I was losing you, and I panicked. So you slept with our maid. It was a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, Tyler. You had an affair. You left me the day I buried my mother. You looked me in the eye and told me I wasn't enough. Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to continue. And now you're here because you found out I have money. That's not true. Then why weren't you here yesterday, or the day before? Why did you wait until after you heard about the inheritance? He faltered. I didn't know how to. Get out. Camila, get out. He left, but his words lingered, poisonous and familiar. I was losing you. Had she really been that absent, that broken? She looked at herself in the mirror, at the woman she'd become, thin, pale, hollow-eyed. Maybe he was right. Maybe she wasn't enough. The call came 2 days later. Miss Rivera, this is Cheswick. We have a situation. She sat up, her stomach nodding. What kind of situation? A man named Dominic Ashe. He claims your mother owed him a substantial sum related to a joint venture, a children's hospital in the Tenderloin. He's threatening to sue the estate if you don't meet with him immediately. A children's hospital? Yes. Apparently, your mother funded the construction but passed away before the project was completed. Mr. Ashe is the architect. He says he's owed $12 million in fees and damages. Camila's jaw tightened. Another vulture. Another person who wanted a piece of her mother's empire. Tell him no. Miss Rivera, I don't think. I said no. I'm not meeting with him. I'm not meeting with anyone. If he wants to sue, let him sue. I don't care. Camila. Cheswick's voice softened. Your mother cared deeply about this project. It was one of the few things she insisted be completed. There are children, families counting on it. She closed her eyes. Of course there were. Fine, set up the meeting. But I'm not promising anything. If someone betrayed you and then came crawling back because of money, could you forgive them? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious what you'd do. The construction site was in the Tenderloin, wedged between a soup kitchen and a vacant lot that smelled like urine and wet cardboard. Camila stepped out of the black town car Cheswick had arranged, her heels sinking into the cracked pavement. She wore a tailored navy blazer and sunglasses, armor against the world. Around her, the city pulsed with its usual chaos, street vendors shouting, car horns blaring, someone playing a saxophone badly on the corner. The building itself was half finished. Steel beams reached toward the sky like broken ribs, wrapped in plastic sheeting that snapped in the wind. A faded sign hung near the entrance. Future home of Street, Catherine's Children's Hospital, opening 2024. That date had come and gone. Miss Rivera? She turned. The man approaching her was tall, broad-shouldered, maybe late 30s. He wore a dusty jacket over a gray t-shirt. Work boots caked in mud, and an expression that could cut glass. His dark hair was slightly too long, curling at his collar, and his eyes, sharp, gray, assessed her like she was a problem to be solved. "Dominic Ashe," he said, not offering his hand. "Camila Rivera, I know who you are." His tone was clipped, annoyed. "You're late." She bristled. "Traffic." "Right." He gestured toward the building. "Let's get this over with." Inside, the space was cavernous and unfinished. Exposed wiring hung from the ceiling. Dust motes floated in the shafts of light, cutting through the plastic sheeting. The air smelled like sawdust and rust. Dominic walked ahead of her, his boots echoing on the concrete floor. He didn't slow down, didn't check if she was keeping up. "This was supposed to open 18 months ago," he said, his voice echoing. "Your mother funded the initial build, $40 million. We got the shell up, the mechanicals roughed in. Then she stopped returning calls, stopped releasing funds. She got sick." "I know." He stopped, turned to face her. "And I'm sorry for your loss. But that doesn't change the fact that I've got contractors walking off the job, families who were promised care for their kids, and a building that's turning into a liability." Camila crossed her arms. "So what do you want from me?" "I want you to honor your mother's commitment. Finish what she started." "Or what? You'll sue me?" His jaw tightened. "If I have to." They stared at each other, the tension crackling between them. "Let me guess," Camila said, her voice cold. "You heard about the inheritance and figured you'd get your piece." Dominic's expression darkened. "You think this is about money? Isn't it always?" "No." He stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "This is about kids who don't have access to basic health care. This is about a community that was promised something real. Your mother understood that. I thought maybe you would too. You don't know anything about me. I know you've been ignoring your mother's lawyer for a week. I know you're living in a penthouse while this place rots. I know you—" "Stop." Her voice broke, and she hated herself for it. "Just stop." She turned away, pressing her palms to her eyes. She would not cry in front of this man. She would not. But the tears came anyway. "My mother's been dead for 10 days, she whispered. 10 days. And in that time, I've found out she was a billionaire. My husband left me for our maid, and now you're standing here telling me I'm a selfish monster because I haven't figured out what to do with money I never asked for." Silence. When she finally looked back, Dominic's expression had shifted. The anger was still there, but something else flickered beneath it. Regret, maybe even shame. "I didn't know about your husband," he said quietly. "Why would you?" He exhaled, ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but this project, it mattered to your mother. She came here, walked through this site, talked to the families. She cared. Then why didn't she tell me about it?" Camila's voice was raw. "Why didn't she tell me about any of this?" "I don't know." Dominic's tone softened. "But maybe she wanted you to find it on your own. Maybe she wanted you to choose it." Camila looked around the unfinished space at the walls that would become patient rooms, the floor that would echo with children's laughter, the windows that would let in light. Her mother had built this, and she'd left it for Camila to finish. "How much do you need?" she asked. Dominic hesitated. "To complete the build, another $25 million, maybe more, depending on—" "Fine." He blinked. "What?" "Fine, I'll fund it, but I have conditions." "Which are?" "I'm involved. Every step. I want to see where the money's going. I want to meet the families. I want to understand why my mother cared about this." She met his eyes. "And you're going to help me." Dominic studied her, his expression unreadable. "You've never done anything like this before, have you?" "No. You don't know the first thing about construction, healthcare infrastructure, or nonprofit management." "No. You'll slow me down." "Probably." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Why do I feel like I'm going to regret this?" "Because you probably will." He extended his hand. 3 months. That's how long it'll take to finish if we start now. You show up, you work, you don't waste my time. She took his hand. His grip was firm, calloused. Deal. As she left the site, climbing back into the town car, Camila glanced back at the building. Dominic stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her. She didn't wave. Neither did he. But something had shifted. For the first time since her mother died, Camila felt something other than grief. Purpose. The first 2 weeks were brutal. Dominic hadn't been exaggerating. He worked like a man possessed. He was on site by 6 a.m. every day, barking orders at contractors, reviewing blueprints, fixing problems faster than Camila could identify them. And he expected her to keep up. If you're serious about this, you need to understand the bones of the building, he'd said on day 3, handing her a hard hat that was 2 sizes too big. Come on. He dragged her through every floor, every room, explaining load-bearing walls and HVAC systems and electrical conduits in a language she barely understood. She took notes on her phone, asked questions until his patience wore thin, and went home every night, exhausted. But she showed up the next morning. And the morning after that, slowly, grudgingly, Dominic began to thaw. You're tougher than I thought, he said one afternoon, watching her haul a box of tiles across the second floor. Thanks? She wiped sweat from her forehead. I think? It's a compliment. From you, I'll take it. He almost smiled. It was late on a Friday, nearly midnight, when everything changed. They were alone in the site office, a cramped trailer filled with blueprints, coffee cups, and the faint smell of cigarette smoke from the previous tenant. Dominic was hunched over a set of drawings, marking changes with a red pen. Camila sat across from him, reviewing a budget spreadsheet that made her head spin. Why do you do this? She asked suddenly. He didn't look up. Do what? This. Build things. Push yourself this hard. His pen paused. For a moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he leaned back, exhaling slowly. My wife, Anne. She was a pediatric nurse, worked at County General, the children's ward. Camila's breath caught. She used to come home and tell me stories about the kids, the ones who couldn't afford treatment, whose families went bankrupt trying to keep them alive. She'd cry sometimes. Said the system was broken. He set the pen down, his voice quieter now. 3 years ago, she got diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. We had money, insurance, access to the best doctors, and she still died within 6 months. Dominic, I'm so sorry. After she was gone, I couldn't go back to regular work. Luxury condos, corporate offices, it all felt meaningless. So I started designing spaces that mattered. Clinics, shelters. Your mother reached out about this project, and it felt like Anne was telling me to do it. He looked up, his gray eyes haunted. I can't bring her back, but I can finish what she would have wanted. Camila felt tears prick her eyes. She'd be proud of you. I don't know about that. He rubbed his face. Most days I feel like I'm failing her. You're not. Their eyes met, and the air between them shifted heavy, charged. Dominic cleared his throat, looked away. What about you? Why are you really here? Honestly, Camila twisted her mother's bracelet. I'm trying to figure out who my mother was. I spent my whole life thinking she didn't care, that she chose work over me. But now you're wondering if you were wrong. Yeah. For what it's worth, Dominic said, your mother talked about you. Not often, but when she did, there was pride in her voice. Love. She never said it to me. Some people don't know how. Camila nodded, her throat tight. The next morning, she woke to a call from Cheswick. Miss Rivera, we found something. A storage unit your mother rented under a different name. The manager said she visited it regularly. There's a key in her safety deposit box. What's in it? I don't know, but I think you should see it. The storage facility was in Daly City, a bland concrete building near the BART station. Camila stood in front of Unit 217, the key cold in her hand. She unlocked the door and pulled it open. Inside, boxes. Dozens of them. She opened the first one. Photographs. Hundreds of them. Camila, as a baby, as a toddler, at her high school graduation. Every moment her mother had missed. Documented, preserved. Beneath the photos, journals. Camila pulled one out, her hands shaking. The first entry was dated 28 years ago, January 14, 1997. Today I held my daughter for the first time. She has my eyes. Her father tried to take her from me, said I wasn't fit to be a mother. I ran. I took Camila and I ran, and I swear on everything I am that I will build a life where she never has to run from anyone. I will work. I will save. I will become someone she can be proud of, even if she never knows. Camila read through the night, entry after entry. Her mother's voice, strong, fierce, terrified, spilled across the pages. Stories of escaping an abusive marriage, of working 3 jobs, of building her first company from nothing. And woven through it all, love for Camila. Regret for the time they'd lost. Hope that one day, Camila would understand. The 3rd of November 2024. I'm dying. The doctors say 6 months, maybe less. I haven't told Camila. How do I tell her I'm leaving when I was barely there to begin with? I've arranged everything. The money, the properties, the hospital. She'll hate me at first, but maybe, when she sees what I built, when she finishes what I started, she'll understand. I wasn't absent because I didn't love her. I was absent because I loved her too much to let her live in my shadow. By the time Dominic arrived, Camila had texted him the address. She was sitting on the floor of the unit, surrounded by journals, sobbing. He didn't say anything. He just sat down beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. She loved me, Camila whispered. She was protecting me. I know. I wasted so much time being angry. You didn't waste anything. You were surviving. She leaned into him, and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders. For the first time in weeks, Camila felt like she could breathe. After that night, something shifted between them. Camila still showed up at the site every morning, hard hat in hand, but the tension that had crackled between her and Dominic softened into something warmer, easier. They worked side by side, their conversations drifting from blueprints to life. What was she like? Dominic asked one afternoon. They were painting a mural in what would become the children's waiting room, bright colors, cartoonish animals. Camila's giraffe looked more like a deformed horse. My mom? She dipped her brush in yellow paint. Quiet. Intense. She'd come home late, sit at the kitchen table with her laptop, and work until 2 a.m. I used to think she loved her job more than me. And now I think she was terrified of losing me, of not being enough. Camila paused. I get it now. That fear. You're enough, Camila. She looked at him, startled by the certainty in his voice. How do you know? Because you're here. Because you didn't run when things got hard. Because you're finishing what she started. He set down his brush. That's more than most people would do. I'm still figuring it out. So am I. He smiled, rare, genuine. We'll figure it out together. They started staying later. After the crew left, they'd sit in the trailer with takeout containers and cheap wine, talking about everything and nothing. Dominic told her about Anne, how they'd met at a coffee shop, how she'd laughed at his terrible jokes, how she'd made him believe in goodness. Camila told him about Tyler, how small he'd made her feel, how she'd twisted herself into shapes just to keep him happy. He was an idiot, Dominic said flatly. He wasn't always. Yes, he was. You just didn't see it yet. She laughed, the sound surprising her. When was the last time she'd laughed? What about you? She asked. Have you dated since Anne? No. Why not? He stared into his wine. Because I'm scared. Scared I'll forget her. Scared I'll compare everyone to her. Scared I'll get it wrong again. Again? I was working when she got sick, missed the signs. By the time we caught it, it was too late. His voice cracked. I should have been paying attention. Camila reached across the table, covered his hand with hers. It wasn't your fault. Feels like it was. Grief lies, Dominic. It tells you that you could have done more, been better, loved harder. But sometimes, no matter what we do, we lose people. Her voice softened. That doesn't mean we didn't love them enough. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them, two broken people, trying to rebuild. He turned his hand over, threading his fingers through hers. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For reminding me I'm not alone. The kiss happened on a Wednesday. They were on the roof of the hospital, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold and pink. The building was nearly finished, just 6 weeks left. Camila could see the future now, children running through the halls, Families finding hope. Her mother's legacy, alive and real. I can't believe we're almost done, she said. You sound sad. I am. A little. This place, it's been a lifeline. I don't know what I'll do when it's finished. Dominic turned to her, his expression serious. You'll build something else, something new. Like what? I don't know. But whatever it is, it'll be yours. The wind tugged at her hair, and without thinking, she brushed it back. Dominic's hand came up to help, his fingers grazing her cheek. They froze. The air between them hummed. Camila, he said, his voice rough. Yeah? I think I'm falling for you. Her heart stopped. Dominic. You don't have to say it back. I needed you to know. She kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, like they were both afraid of breaking something fragile. But then his hand slid into her hair, and she pressed closer, and the kiss deepened, desperate, hungry, real. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathless. I'm terrified, she admitted. Me too. What if this is a mistake? What if it's not? She smiled, tears in her eyes. Okay, let's try. He kissed her again, softer this time, and Camila felt something inside her shift. Maybe love wasn't about being whole. Maybe it was about finding someone who saw your broken pieces and stayed anyway. They didn't tell the crew, didn't make a big deal of it, but everyone noticed. The way Dominic's hand lingered on the small of her back, the way Camila laughed more, the way they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. About damn time, muttered Carlos, the site foreman, earning a grin from the others. But happiness, Camila was learning, was a fragile thing, and the world had a way of shattering it. The article dropped on a Thursday morning. Camila was at the site, reviewing final inspection schedules with Carlos, when her phone exploded with notifications, text messages, emails, voicemails. She pulled out her phone, frowning. 17 missed calls from Cheswick. Her stomach dropped. Excuse me, she said to Carlos, stepping away. She opened her messages. The first one was from a number she didn't recognize. Guess you're not so different from your husband after all. Attached was a link. She clicked it. San Francisco Chronicle, Society section. Billionaire heiress finds love in the rubble. Elena Rivera's daughter romances architect on dead mother's project. By Jessica Hartman. Just months after inheriting her late mother's $4.2 billion fortune, Camila Rivera has found comfort in the arms of Dominic Ashe, the architect overseeing the completion of St. Catherine's Children's Hospital, a project funded entirely by Rivera's estate. Sources close to the couple say the relationship began shortly after Rivera took control of her inheritance, raising questions about the nature of their connection. It's convenient, isn't it? Said one anonymous contractor. He gets paid, she gets companionship. Everyone wins. This comes on the heels of Rivera's highly publicized divorce from Tyler Brennan, who left her for the couple's former housekeeper, Vanessa Morales. Friends of Brennan suggest Rivera's emotional state made her vulnerable to manipulation. Camila was devastated, Morales told the Chronicle exclusively. She was desperate for someone to see her as more than just money. Dominic saw an opportunity. Ashe, 38, lost his wife 3 years ago and has built a reputation for working on philanthropic projects. Whether his interest in Rivera is personal or financial remains unclear. Neither Rivera nor Ashe responded to requests for comment. Camila's hands shook. The article was accompanied by photos her and Dominic on the hospital roof, kissing. Someone had taken them from a distance, zoomed in, made something private into a public spectacle. Her phone rang. Cheswick, she answered. Did you see? Yes. Don't respond. Don't engage. This will blow over. Blow over? They're calling me desperate. They're saying Dominic is using me. I know, but anything you say will only fuel the fire. Trust me on this. She hung up, her chest tight. Around her, the crew was staring at their phones, whispering. Carlos approached, his expression apologetic. Miss Rivera, if you need to take the day, I'm fine. But she wasn't. Dominic arrived an hour later. She saw him before he saw her, storming through the site, his face a mask of fury. When their eyes met, something cold flickered in his expression. He pulled her into the trailer, slammed the door. Did you know about this? He demanded. What? No. Of course not. Then how did they get those photos? How did they know about us? I don't know, Maybe someone from the crew. Or maybe you leaked it. The accusation hit her like a slap. Excuse me? Think about it, Camila. This story makes you look sympathetic. The grieving daughter, betrayed by her husband, finding love with the noble architect. His voice dripped with bitterness. It's a great narrative. Perfect PR for the billionaire heiress. You think I did this? I don't know what to think. All I know is that my name is being dragged through the mud, my reputation is being questioned, and the one project that mattered to me is now a tabloid punchline. This is happening to me too, Dominic. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, you're the one with billions of dollars and an army of lawyers. I'm just the guy who's going to be known as the opportunist who seduced the rich widow. That's not fair. Fair? He laughed, harsh and broken. Nothing about this is fair. I opened up to you. I trusted you. And now everyone thinks I'm using you for money. I didn't ask for this, but you brought it into my life anyway. He turned away, his shoulders rigid. Maybe this was a mistake. The words hung in the air, sharp and final. You don't mean that, Camila whispered. Don't I? He looked back at her, and his eyes were full of pain. I told you I was scared of getting it wrong again. Of comparing everyone to Anne. And you know what? I was right to be scared. Because this us, it's not real. It can't be. We're just two broken people trying to fix each other, and it's not working. That's not true, isn't it? His voice softened, but it was worse than his anger. You don't love me, Camila. You love the idea of me. The distraction. The way I make you feel less alone. But when this project is done, when you don't need me anymore, you'll realize that. Stop. Tears streamed down her face. You're wrong. Am I? Then tell me if we'd met under normal circumstances. If you weren't grieving and I wasn't trying to honor my dead wife, would we even have looked at each other twice? She opened her mouth, closed it. The silence was answer enough. That's what I thought, he said quietly. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the handle. I'll finish the hospital. That's what your mother paid me to do. But after that, I think it's best if we keep our distance. Dominic, please. But he was already gone. Camila stood in the empty trailer, her world collapsing for the second time in as many months. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through the comments on the article. Gold digger meets gold digger. Perfect match. She really thought a man would love her for her personality? LOL. Tyler dodged a bullet. She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. That night, Vanessa called. Camila almost didn't answer, but some sick part of her needed to hear it. Enjoying your 15 minutes? Vanessa's voice was smug. What do you want? Just wanted to say thank you. That article? Tyler and I got paid for the exclusive. Turns out your misery is pretty profitable. Camila's blood ran cold. You sold the story. Someone had to. You paraded your new relationship around like it was some fairy tale. I just gave people the truth. The truth? That you're pathetic. That you'll cling to anyone who gives you attention. Tyler saw it. Dominic will too. Eventually. Vanessa laughed. You can't buy love. Camila. No matter how many billions you have. The line went dead. Camila sat in the dark penthouse, the city lights blurring through her tears. She looked at the bracelet on her wrist, her mother's final gift. Para ti, mija. For you, my daughter. But what was it all for? The money, the project, the love she thought she'd found? She was still alone, still broken, still not enough. The next morning, Dominic didn't come to the site. Or the day after that, Carlos ran the crew. The work continued, but the heart had gone out of it. Camila stopped showing up too. For 3 days, Camila didn't leave the penthouse. She ignored Cheswick's calls, deleted emails without reading them, sat on the floor of her mother's closet. She'd had all of Elena's belongings, moved to the penthouse and read through the journals again and again. Looking for answers? Looking for permission to give up. The 12th of October, 2023. Today I watched Camila from across the street. She doesn't know I do this sometimes. Follow her to the grocery store, the park, anywhere I can catch a glimpse without intruding. She looked tired, sad. And I wanted so badly to cross the street, to hold her, to tell her everything. But I didn't. Because I've built a wall around my heart for so long, I don't know how to tear it down. I'm afraid if I try, I'll hurt her more than my absence ever did. Camila closed the journal, her throat tight. Her mother had been afraid too. Afraid of love, afraid of loss, afraid of not being enough. And in her fear, she'd built a fortune but lost her daughter. Camila didn't want to make the same mistake. On the fourth day, she went back to the storage unit. She needed to see the journals again, to feel close to her mother, to understand what she was supposed to do next. But when she opened the unit, she found something she'd missed before. A small box, tucked in the corner, labeled simply, "For Dominic." She opened it. Inside, a letter, sealed in an envelope, and beneath it, a set of blueprints, detailed drawings for an expansion of the hospital, a wing dedicated to cancer patients. Adult cancer patients. Camila's hands trembled as she opened the letter. "Dear Dominic, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope Camila found you. I know what you've been through. I know about Anne. And I know you've been running from grief the same way I ran from my past. I'm giving you these blueprints because I believe you're the only person who can build this. Not because you're the best architect, though you are, but because you understand what it means to lose someone to a disease that shouldn't have taken them. But here's the thing. You can't build this alone. And neither can Camila. She's going to push you away. She's going to think she's not worthy of love, the same way I did. And you're going to believe her, because it's easier than risking your heart again. Don't. Don't let fear win. Don't let grief define you. Build something beautiful together. Not just this hospital, but a life. That's what Anne would have wanted for you. That's what I want for my daughter. Elena." Camila read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down her face. Her mother had known. She'd known Camila would find Dominic. She'd known they'd need each other. She'd been trying to give them both permission to love again. Camila grabbed the blueprints and the letter and drove to Dominic's apartment, an address she'd found in her mother's files. It was in the Mission District, a modest building with chipping paint and a view of the BART tracks. She knocked on his door. No answer. She knocked again. "Dominic, I know you're in there. Please, I need to talk to you." The door opened. He looked terrible, unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing the same shirt he'd had on days ago. "Camila, my mother left you something." She held out the letter and blueprints. "You need to see this." They sat on his couch, the blueprints spread across the coffee table. Dominic read the letter in silence, his jaw tight. When he finished, he set it down carefully, like it might shatter. "She knew," he whispered. "Yeah. She knew I'd screw this up. She knew we'd both be scared." Camila turned to face him. "Dominic, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the article, for the photos, for all of it. I didn't ask for any of this, but I brought it into your life anyway, and that's on me. It's not your fault. Maybe not. But I should have fought harder. I should have told you that you're wrong, that this is real, that I do love you, not just the idea of you." Her voice broke. "I love the way you talk about Anne, even though it hurts. I love the way you see people, the way you build things that matter. I love that you called me out when I was hiding, and that you stayed even when I was a mess. Camila, I'm not done." She took a shaky breath. "You said we're just two broken people trying to fix each other. And maybe you're right. But maybe that's okay. Maybe love isn't about being whole, it's about finding someone who sees your broken pieces and doesn't run." Dominic stared at her, his eyes wet. "I ran," he said hoarsely. "I know. I was scared. I'm still scared." "Me too. What if we get it wrong again? Then we get it wrong together." She reached for his hand. "But at least we tried." He kissed her. It was different this time, slower, softer, full of apology and promise. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I think I have, since the day you showed up at the site and yelled at me." She laughed through her tears. "I didn't yell. You absolutely did." "Okay, maybe a little." He smiled, real, warm, breaking through the grief that had shadowed him for so long. "So what now?" he asked. She showed him the blueprints. "Now we build this, the cancer wing, in Anne's name." His breath caught. "Camila, it's what my mother wanted. It's what I want." She squeezed his hand. "Let's finish what they started, together." He nodded, unable to speak. 6 months later, the grand opening of St. Catherine's Children's Hospital was on a Saturday in June. The sun was bright, the sky impossibly blue. Families filled the courtyard, parents clutching their children's hands, doctors in scrubs, community leaders, and reporters with cameras. Camila stood at the podium, her heart hammering. She wore a simple white dress and her mother's bracelet. Dominic stood beside her, his hand resting on the small of her back. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady. "6 months ago, I stood in an unfinished building and didn't know if I'd have the strength to see this through. I'd just lost my mother. My marriage had fallen apart. I felt like I'd lost everything." She paused, looking out at the crowd. "But this place, this hospital taught me something. It taught me that loss doesn't have to be the end. That we can take our grief, our pain, our broken pieces, and build something beautiful." Her eyes found Dominic's. He smiled. "My mother, Elena Rivera, built an empire in silence. She protected me in ways I didn't understand until she was gone. And this hospital was her way of saying that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a building that will heal children for generations." She held up a ribbon. "Today, we're not just opening a hospital. We're honoring everyone who's ever felt invisible. Everyone who's ever been told they're not enough." Her voice cracked. "You are enough. You always were." The crowd erupted in applause. Camila cut the ribbon, and the doors opened. Inside, children ran through the halls, their laughter echoing off the brightly painted walls. Camila watched them, tears streaming down her face. "She'd be proud of you," Dominic said softly. "I hope so." He pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. "I know so." Later, as the sun set, they stood on the roof, the same spot where they'd first kissed. "There's something I need to tell you," Dominic said. Camila's stomach flipped. "What?" He pulled a small box from his pocket. Her breath stopped. "I know it's fast," he said, his voice shaking. "I know we're still figuring this out. But I also know that I don't want to spend another day without you. You make me believe in second chances, in love after loss, in building something real." He opened the box. Inside was a simple gold band, delicate and perfect. "Camila Rivera, will you marry me?" She laughed, crying, and kissed him. "Yes." 1,000 times, yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, and they stood there, wrapped in each other, the city sprawling below them. 3 months later, Tyler showed up at the hospital. Camila was in the new cancer wing, Anne's wing, reviewing patient intake schedules when security called. "There's a man here asking to see you. Says his name is Tyler Brennan." Her stomach tightened. "Tell him I'm busy. He says it's important." She sighed. "Fine, I'll be down in 5. Tyler looked smaller than she remembered. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair unkempt. Vanessa, apparently, had left him 3 weeks after the article dropped, once the money ran out. "Camila," his voice was hoarse, "thank you for seeing me. You have 2 minutes. I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I was stupid, selfish, cruel. And I'm sorry. But I'm asking for another chance." Camila looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No anger, no hurt. Just pity. "Tyler, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I'm done carrying that weight." She glanced at her ring. "I'm happy now. I'm loved. I'm building a life that matters, and you're not part of it. Camila, please." "Goodbye, Tyler." She walked away, and this time, she didn't look back. 1 year later, Camila stood in the courtyard of the hospital, watching the sunset with Dominic. The cancer wing had just admitted its first patients. Families were already sending letters, thanking them for the care, the hope, the chance at more time. "Do you ever wonder what your mom would think?" Dominic asked. Camila smiled, twisting her bracelet. "I think she'd say I finally figured it out." "Figured what out?" "That love isn't something you find, it's something you build, one choice at a time." Dominic pulled her close. "Then let's keep building." And they did. What would you do if you inherited a fortune but lost everything else? Would you use it to rebuild or walk away? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your story.